autonomous. Help me out, I wanna be anonymous. Help me out, I wanna be anonymous. Help me out, I wanna be anonymous. Don't really matter anyway. With the state the world is empty, and we're living on borrowed time. Living on borrowed time. Living on borrowed time. I read all about your disease. Change your blood, stick it in the deep freeze. You believe everything that you see. Tell me where'd you get your lobotomy? Did you read about the tortoise and the hippopotamus? Help me out, I wanna be anonymous. Help me out, I wanna be anonymous. Help me out, 'cause I wanna be anonymous. Don't really matter anyway. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. State that the world is empty. Hey, we're living on borrowed time. Living on borrowed time. Living on borrowed time. Take it.
Time is ticking for Bill Pulte's term as acting director of national intelligence, with the Senate set to begin voting on Jay Clayton's nomination as soon as today. But Pulte seems set on making a big impact in a short amount of time. Announcing over the weekend his office completed yet another round of layoffs, his fourth since he took over the role on June 19th. Those layoffs are on top of the 500 people, or 30% of the agency's workforce, laid off under Pulte's predecessor, Tulsi Gabbard. I want to bring in Michael Feinberg, MS Now national security and intelligence analyst, former assistant special agent in charge with the FBI. Kimberly Atkins-Storr is also back with us. Michael, help us understand the impact of these cuts, especially since they have happened in such a short period of time. What does it mean for our national security?
Well, I'm afraid it's a little bit nuanced because we don't know whether these are individuals who work directly for ODNI and have been fired full stop and are no longer with the intelligence community, or whether they're detailees from other agencies, which would mean that they're sort of banished from the ODNI campus, but they still go back to CIA or NSA or FBI. But either way, within the building where the director of national intelligence is supposed to sit, there are less people doing ODNI's job. And ODNI's job is functionally to serve as a coordinating entity for the intelligence community to make sure that everybody is on the same page, and that if there are any conflicting accounts between reported intelligence or policy recommendations, that they get sorted out in a professional manner. That's why the director of national intelligence is one of the only cabinet secretary positions who specifically is supposed to have worked in that field. But with less people in that seat, and with somebody like Bill Pulte, who's never worked in the world of intelligence or espionage, what we functionally have is an organization that will not be able to do its basic job of coordinating over a dozen different agencies, all of which are supposed to give the United States president tactical and strategic intelligence.
Kimberly, help me. Yeah, why? Why, right? That's the question.
Well,
Let's give this man an award for talking point.
It's infuriating and befuddling because to do this at a time when we are in an elective war in the Middle East, seeing a country that is supposed to be our ally fending off Russia at the same time, and China getting more and more aggressive in East Asia, it's difficult to understand why you would do this. But like so many things, this comes down to Trump's ego. The ODNI was instrumental in the original accounts of Russian interference in the 2016 election, which many alleged helped Trump. and it was silent about the supposed interference that he claims prevented him from winning re-election in 2020. Now, obviously, the reason it was silent is because that interference never actually happened, and the ODNI is supposed to be not writing works of fiction. But once you bruise this administration's ego, there's really no way to get back. So he appears to be punishing an agency which he views as not supportive enough of his candidacies.
So we're waiting on this, the Senate to start voting on Jay Clayton tonight, Kimberly. But I mean, imagine Jay Clayton gets confirmed and he shows up in the offices and he's like, "Is anybody here? Anybody work here anymore?" I mean, it does seem like some of the dirtiest tasks were let to Pulte to do in the lead up to Clayton potentially taking on this role. But you have to wonder what the mandate is for him should he assume the office.
Yeah, I think you can get a clue just basically from some of the actions that he's already taken before he's even gotten into the office. Now, let's a reminder that Jay Clayton is not someone who came up through the MAGA political sphere. He, is the current U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. But since he has been for consideration and trying to rise up within the Trump administration, we've seen him do things like sign off on those New York Times subpoenas of reporters that a judge all but told them with the Justice Department to withdraw, or else that they'd be quashed and attorneys might be up for sanctions. And this is all just because the administration didn't like the fact that these reporters reported on security issues with the new Air Force One that was gifted by Qatar. So I have no reason to believe that he would not be on board with the same sort of apparent attempt to just purge the intelligence committee of the so-called deep state that Donald Trump thinks is working against him, as opposed to career professionals whose job it is to keep Americans safe from security threats, especially at a time when we are at war, when we are increasing the number of international enemies by the day, and when domestic terror incidents have also been in the news in the last 2 years, well more than we would like them to be. This is an important job, and to have it be taken by someone who is just there to do Donald Trump's bidding is incredibly dangerous.
Oh, Liz.
What's the matter? You didn't like that one?
Trigger me. You triggered me with that.
You didn't like that one there, Feisty? Huh? You didn't like that one?
That was intentional triggering. The only other thing you could have done is shown a Warner cry.
Hold my beer.
Sean, you are so over target. So over the target with that clip for reasons you didn't even realize.
Oh really?
It is amazing.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh yes,
that?
we have to cry a moment or two, right?
Who's that guy? Who's that fella?
Oh my God!
Yeah, he's about to feign more outrage, an appropriate amount. Welcome everybody. Feisty Diggs, episode 53. We are at the 53rd episode.
I can't believe it.
I know. It feels like we just started yesterday.
I know. I thought we had.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? How was your weekend, both you two?
I was busy.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was kind of busy.
I can't imagine either of you two have been busy at all over the last week or so.
You know, I'll tell you something. Putting us two together was dangerous.
It's almost like I had foreknowledge or foresaw a great companionship between you two.
Companionship. Now, there's a word, Mary. There's a word.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
What's the new word? What's the new term?
We're colluding.
No, what was the one you just told me? Do we dare say it out loud?
Oh, no, don't say that out loud.
No.
No.
Right.
We don't need to start another one.
Well, it's good to have you back, Mayor, from your vacay. How was your vacation?
Well, it wasn't a vacation. It was work.
It was
but it went really well.
a workcation, maybe?
No, just work.
Yeah, the pictures are awesome.
Yeah. No, we didn't even go to a restaurant. We didn't. We just
Didn't need
worked.
to.
Nice.
We just worked 18 hours a day.
Wow.
So.
Well, sound an awful lot like somebody else I know.
Mm-hmm.
This one here, working 18 hours a day. This is what we do.
That's a short day for me
Yeah.
anymore.
This is what
That's
we
true.
do. We thoroughly enjoy digging, understanding the bigger picture. It's good to see everybody over in Rumble. Gizmo's mom. Truth for me always. There's Marissa, Coco Bear. Wow, we got all sorts of OGs here. Look at this. Dana Shell, Laura Vogel, Lynn Janka, Snackums, Military Mom, Just the Truth. Who else we got? This is Feisty Cat 1. I'm seeing that must be a new name.
It's somebody else.
Sherry Van. Here, let me expand. I can't see this. Van de Hoven. Welcome, Sherry. This is a new name. PL Baldry. What's up, friend? Good to see Sean Joe and Marissa over there in Pilled for the win. Francine, Spirit, 554. We got Jax in the house, a friend indeed. Highway Dog, GG, Tammy. Wow. Ohio Kimmy. No Fay Contract. Good to see our Aussie Patriots out there. Bam Mom, Texas. Bobby Digital. And oh my gosh, look at the gold pills. You guys are crushing it. Dixie with a pair of banger shades and just fed up with a pair of shades. Show us those beautiful sides, Feisty. PJ Swearing with a cookie. I have learned so much from you all. I feel like I'm in school. Hopefully, it's a little bit more funner than it is in school.
A little bit more funner. You need to go back to school.
More fun. Correction. More fun. No, I'm going to go with more funner. Just because it sounds cool.
Mary got a very similar comment last night on her show.
Yeah, she
So
did.
I guess we're the professorial ranks has expanded.
Well, that's why people come here, is because you're going to get a dose of professorisms and then, some ebonics from my side. So, shout out to ebonics. And thank you again, PJ Swearing, Just Fed Up, Dixie, Sean Joe with a cookie as well. Patriot Bronco, good to see you as well. Thank you for the phone call. Hey, fam, good to see you, says Patriot Bronco. Spirit 554 drops a cookie. Thank you, friend. Thank you, Sean Joe, again with yet another cookie. God bless you guys. And Feisty has exited stage left. That's what you call an Irish goodbye, everybody. Yeah. All right. S. Jones, thank you for the shade. Says, because the light is bright with this show. Love you guys. I hope so. We do uncover some dark stuff occasionally. Adam E. Oh, yeah, by the way, one last thing. Thank you, everybody, for joining last night for Patriot Theater. It's kind of a nice way to reset the week. And we watched Disclosure Day last night, which is interesting.
Yeah.
A little bit in the woo, but I think my conclusion after watching that show was an attempt to separate us from God. Was there ultimately predictive programming or what do they call it?
More normalizing, right?
Or mockery or normalizing conditioning. I think the normalizing would be accurate. And keeping us from God. Separating us from God more. Just yet another attempt.
Well, the more they make God irrelevant,
Right.
the more their programming works.
Matter of fact, you would have loved the first movie, Feisty. The first movie I played was called, Mary, maybe you've even heard of it, being a theater, dare I say, nerd. It's a good thing. That's a term of endearment, by the way. Okay. It was a movie called Fair Game. It was about this woman named Valerie Plume.
Yes.
Scooter Libby.
I know who she is.
Yes.
Scooter Libby.
Scooter Libby, who was
She
pardoned by
actually tried
Trump.
to run for office in Virginia.
Yeah, she was.
Thank God she didn't get there.
She was a CIA agent, So Sean Penn played the husband, Joe something, and a lot of propaganda. It was essentially about the WMDs and you guys remember the aluminum tubes to sell the WMDs.
Did the show point to, did you get an element of a truth that she set up Scooter Libby? That's why he was pardoned.
Oh, really? No, they did not. It was definitely a CYA situation.
Yeah, she set up for the, I don't know if, well, you were, Mary, you might remember, but back in the day, the early Bush years, it came out that a CIA operative was exposed, right? And they pinned it on Scooter Libby, but she wasn't at the time in a position, she was in a more public position, wasn't technically disclosed at all. There was no
Didn't have access.
leak. Right.
She couldn't. She can't see.
And the thing is, when they started the special counsel review into the situation, they knew the day the special counsel started, who did it, why it was done, all of that stuff, and it wasn't Scooter Libby. He was framed.
Well, that's 2 movies now. This one and a movie called Vice, which was about Cheney. And both those movies, they projected it as though Scooter Libby willingly took the fall for it.
He didn't willingly take the fall.
That's what both movies projected.
He was made to fall. Yes.
Let's see. Ohio Kimmy asked, didn't Clinton pardon him? Bush, I think, commuted his sentence.
Bush commuted.
And then Trump pardoned.
Right. Trump completely did a full pardon.
And the movie came out in 2010. So it was definitely a CIA movie.
Right after, because it came out as a result of what Bush did. And so they had to continue to paint him as not the best of people, right?
Yeah.
So that's why that movie came out. And then Trump came in and pardons him completely, sent the left reeling over that. They lost it with that one. So
it was an interesting movie.
Bush was always going to commute a sentence.
Well, when I watched the movie, I'm just like, you know what? This movie's kind of boring. And a lot of the language was used in this movie is like, you would either have to be in the swamp in that kind of...
Wait, Sean, what are you saying?
You know exactly
I can't take the moving goalpost. It either is or it isn't a deep state. We just listened to a segment where the deep state, where they tried to say it doesn't exist again. We can't keep going back and forth. You get whiplash.
Back and forth from what?
Whether there is or there isn't a deep state.
The opening clip.
The opening clip.
What about it?
She tried to say there isn't a deep state, that it's a figment of Trump's imagination.
But you know who they had on the panel? I was digging on those people while that was playing.
Well, listen, I think it was. I think I even read at one point in the Federalist Papers that it was never in the notion of a free and open press was never meant to have. In fact, they even made points. I'm going to butcher it. So I'm paraphrasing. They even made it a point that nobody in any federal government should ever become a part of, a free press, because that's
that was Franklin's position.
Yeah.
that members of the press should not be
or intelligence
members or they should not have come from government.
And literally, that's all you have. I was digging on something today. Because there's still seemingly orchestrated attacks against Turning Point, Trump, the Trump administration. We're still seeing it. And I just discovered somebody was revealed to be NSA, CIA. That's a part of that whole group.
Sure.
I'll refrain from giving the name for now. But
that's not the first time we've had CIA hacks that are involved in espionage.
Yeah, and sadly,
becoming double spies, and
they're not relenting. By the way, they're almost doubling, tripling down. I
think the only thing that takes them down or sets us back in a more normal path are actual arrests, which I do think many within the journalist ranks are undercover agents. I think they are.
Oh yeah, easily.
We know they are. We know
easily.
many of them are.
Yeah. This is why I would encourage everybody, find your trusted sources, stick with them. Try not to veer from them. A couple of ones that we like to, I'll
John
speak for myself.
Solomon.
Yeah. I think we're all in agreement on John Solomon. I think we're all in agreement on Catherine Herridge. Sarah Carter, who's kind of been doing her thing.
Sarah Carter's,
Yeah.
she's in a government position. She's not journalisting.
Yeah.
She can't double dip.
Right. So, and then, from there. But
There's a few others, but those are the two.
see,
You go to places like the Jacobin
yeah.
to find out what the talking points
Yeah,
are, right?
yeah.
Literally listed in the Cuban papers
Yeah.
Right.
was Jacobin.
And so some of the things I stumbled across today, finding out that the DNC, not finding out because we've known the DNC was broke, but latest report is
In multiple ways.
They're not only broke, they owe a lot of money, and
Like
they're
$5
not
million
getting
now.
any more money.
And they're not getting donations.
They're calling for what the hell's his name? Ken Martin? Ken something? DNC
To step
head?
down. Yeah.
To step down. But the fact that he's still there, and we're talking months, if not years, of the DNC being broke, and the fact that he's still there, am I crazy to suggest that they're deliberately remaining broke to make themselves weaker so that the DSA can come in and
Now, Sean,
what?
test. You're starting to sound like me.
Almost like it's a plan and they're
Yes.
Almost like since January of 2019, the party was designed to be crushed.
All along. And then we're
All
planning on
along.
the economy being a lot more destroyed than it is today. Well,
Actually, within the next week or two.
yeah, a managed decline, if you will.
Yeah, right at a time when Congress is out of session.
And
We got to get the Clarity Act.
yeah,
I've been saying for years we're going to get a 2008 style panic that forces that bill through. Sure is lining up for that. Everything is coming along nicely.
and there's supposed to be a nomination for Jay Clayton that's going on today, I think.
Yeah, remember, Trump is not going to replace Pulte until they've replaced Clayton.
He's got 250 something days from the day he started, right?
That Pulte has
technically.
210 days.
Or Trump has
210 days.
to replace him.
Pulte is acting, has 210 days. That takes him into January,
At
so
most.
Trump's not too worried
Yeah, at most.
at most.
So, and he's already gone through his now his fourth round of draining the deep state swamp out of.
Don't you just love it, though,
Yes.
when they complain that Pulte doesn't have any national security experience, and that's why Clayton's better, who also has no
That's why
national
yeah.
security
But
experience.
that's why we like him.
But I'm laughing. I'm laughing about how the double standard, because they paint Clayton like he's got this extreme experience. He has zip. He's in no better position
He's
than
a lawyer.
Pulte.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a law enforcement clearance. He doesn't have an intel clearance. There's a difference.
They like their lawyers in government, don't they?
No, they're trying to get Pulte out of there. They're afraid of Pulte.
They don't like their businessmen in government.
Right.
Because businessmen.
Especially businessmen with a bone to pick.
You know, something else has been running through my mind. This might sound a little bit out there, and we'll get into what you're going to get into today after. But it's had me wondering. So communism can't, or socialism can't thrive in an environment where there's millionaires and billionaires, right?
Right.
Would that be accurate to say?
That's absolutely accurate.
Okay,
Now
so
go through history. What
Now-
do communist systems tend to do to those billionaires?
Right. And then all of the assets are acquired for the
Acquire. It becomes government. That's what happened to.
they
That's how you
Remember
want the oligarchs.
Remember the woman in Venezuela who supposedly won the presidency?
Machado?
Her family.
Maria
her family's.
Machado?
Yeah, Machado. Her family's industry. They were in the oil support industry. So remember, the U.S. set up and built that industry in Venezuela back when it was a very wealthy country,
Yep.
destination for everybody. U.S. oil companies built that industry. Her family built the support system around that industry. And then when the oil industry was nationalized, her family lost as well. So you use your billionaires to get yourself into a position of power, and then you remove the ability of the billionaires to come back at you by, that family has
Right.
not been able to make any money since. So
Okay.
we saw it in Venezuela, you saw it in Cuba, you saw it in Russia after the Russian Revolution.
Unless they install their own billionaires.
Well, yeah,
it's
usually people that are promoted up through the party line.
Right.
but their money isn't theirs.
Right.
Right. Sounds
Their
like
money,
sounds
their
like
money
Elon
becomes
Musk a
it
little bit.
becomes a part of the collective.
Yeah, it sounds like Elon Musk
Why?
because he was the largest recipient of defense contracting. Federal
He's
dollars?
legitimately won a contract. That doesn't make
No, I
it government.
agree. I agree. Sounds to me like Zuckerberg a little bit.
Well, Zuckerberg for sure. I mean, that was a government-run system from LifeLog to Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So, but that was always a fascist collective there. As with Alphabet, if you look at Google and YouTube and all of those are all government.
So arguably, billionaires are like a buffer for us. Not a buffer. They're
We
like
get the illusion of private ownership, but it really isn't.
What do you mean about that with respect to billionaires?
Well, you get the illusion that there's private industry when there really isn't.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's fascism by definition.
Corporatism.
Right.
So now you see how it's so easy to go from fascism to communism because then once you get into the position of power, they're out the door. You've got the industry, you've got their money. And what are you working towards? You're working towards making the country a third world country so nobody can rise up against you.
So what we saw previously, or what it was leading towards, was a controlled demise of these billionaires and their big tech companies and other, major corporations. To now where it's Trump protecting them and their empire, their corporate empire.
He's protecting capitalism, not them specifically.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's a distinction that you need to recognize because he's protecting sound business. He's not protecting that government private partnership where the government is secretly in charge.
Yeah.
He believes in public-private partnerships. We've watched it. He also doesn't believe in government controlling that partnership in that way.
Right. So, what are we going to talk about today?
So, you started with Pulte.
Your boyfriend's gone on a little posting spree.
Did you catch who played golf with Trump on
Bill
Saturday?
Pulte, your boyfriend. Did you give him a hall pass to go play golf with the Don?
I gave him carte blanche. Are you kidding? I told him, you go. You're my man.
It seems like the golf course is a place for them to have some pretty...
Do you remember that, though, in 2022?
What?
Trump had this big golfing gathering in the Virginia golf course.
Yeah.
There was like 5 or 6 golf carts full of people. They were all standing by the trees, not a golf club among them, not a golf club in any of the carts. Right?
Very vaguely, yeah.
It is a popular way of having a meeting. The golf course has been one of his most famous ways of having meetings outside of any ears, right?
It's like their personal skiff, no phones.
It's always been like that, though. Businessmen always got together, not necessarily because they were good at golf. That was a way of doing deals.
Yep.
Having a quiet meeting without anybody overhearing.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there were all the people to include. I mean, you had people like Hegseth was even there. So, I mean, you've got all these people
yesterday?
meeting. No, this is in 22.
Oh.
I did a whole spread on it because it was so exciting. Because on the same day, O'Brien was going into Trump Tower, not Trump Tower, the Trump Hotel in D.C. with his briefcase, and he still had Secret Service. So I'm going Directive 51. I'm returning over because if you recall, there was the Trump will be back by August spiel. So, we kept waiting because O'Brien his position is directly named in Directive 51. So I thought wrongly that maybe we were doing a handover.
So Polte is doing a lot more than, well, before. So he's still with FHFA, but
Yeah, he's still the director of FHFA.
That's not what he's on. That's not what he released last night.
But that's why that was so exciting when Trump put out Panic in D.C. and then Pulte puts out the election integrity stuff.
Yeah.
And you got these yahoos on this clip you said that this perceived election was stolen.
Right.
There's no proof. It's like, did you read anything? I mean, it's all through those drops.
Feisty's going to get properly triggered.
I know. I got so excited. But he's been all over the election integrity stuff. So, question, who likely was released? I can agree in part that it's people that are detailed, just like at the National Security Council, people get detailed through DNI. So but those would have been earlier. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think these are people that, and we'll have to wait and see, but I think they're people that were largely responsible for withholding that information from the presidential daily brief, which came out in those reports. And
Nikki Flores.
Who puts the presidential daily brief together? DNI.
DNI.
Mm-hmm. That's why we have a DNI, because in 9/11,
who was DNI when Nikki Flores was there?
That was Avril Haines.
For Trump?
No. Under Trump, you got Coates and McCord. Remember?
Was it Coates?
Dan Coates and Molly McCord. Both.
No,
by
I
the
thought
way,
Tulsi was the first female ODNI.
Molly McCord was not the DNI. Coates was.
So
Molly McCord was his deputy.
Okay.
Got it.
So Tulsi is the first female DNI. Okay.
DNI, yes.
But it wasn't just Coates the whole time, was it?
No. Coates was there. Then Radcliffe came in. Then Grinnell did it for a little bit, and
didn't Nunez too? At one point, no.
I don't recall that.
Right.
I don't
so it
recall
was
because
probably
Devin
Radcliffe.
Nunes at the time was in the House.
So it wasn't. So Radcliffe couldn't have been responsible for withholding. So
No,
Nikki Flores withheld it from Radcliffe then.
The Chinese stuff, it was a CIA analyst, not Nikki Flores. It was a CIA analyst.
She's the one who wrote that I created. Yeah, she was FBI.
Flores is the one
She was
that
FBI.
said.
Yeah,
She
shadow
said,
government.
I'm running a shadow government, but it was a CIA analyst that said that they've been massaging the PDBs.
Okay.
So that information goes to DNI. DNI is supposed to codify all that intel and put it into the PDB. So the massaging of the PDB is a joint effort.
Knowingly. Should be a part of the
It's a national security threat.
Yeah, 100%. When Catherine Herridge posted about an hour ago, acting DNI Polte declassified intelligence reveals that voter registration rolls from at least 18 states, have been compromised by the People's Republic of China. Note, swing states. Intel community suppressed information about PRC's 2020 election influence operation.
That came out last week, yes.
Former DNI investigator James Erdman, a DNI investigator.
Yeah, Catherine Heritage actually interviews him, which backs up what was dropped last week.
Oh. Led the COVID origins probe. We had whistleblowers say, they didn't want to touch it. They did not want to harm China. So this is tying COVID in with the elections. Or she's trying to here with this.
As I look at, it's tied, what we knew that, right? COVID was never about a virus. What I'm seeing is less about China and more about an active campaign to take down the United States. While China is an easy boogeyman, an easy party to this, I look at Singham, right? Neverroy Singham more than I do the state of China. Just like what we're watching revealed out of Venezuela, out of Cuba, even in Spain with Zapatero and Iglesia, we're watching this global effort to take down the United States. Now, there's a logical reason for that. They've already proven they can take countries by election, by stealing elections. But the big deal is the United States Constitution is unique. It's the only constitution in the world like it, where it's a bottom-up control. You take down the United States, the entire world falls and won't stand again.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's a reason behind all of that.
It's interesting. Yeah, at some point we'll have to figure out some way to help folks understand the difference between the CCP, the PRC, Xi, and whatever deep state or deep state operatives or side of China there is, because at this point, if we don't, then people are just going to put Xi in the camp of PRC or CCP and suggest that they're our enemy, and then destroying any, which I don't think could happen, diplomacy between Trump and Xi.
I think their relationship is pretty solid going back to 2016.
Agreed. But you're seeing it happening between Trump and Bibi. You're seeing it happen between Trump and Macron, right?
Well, we've watched where the noise around their relationship got proven to be inaccurate when you see the real relationship that comes out between them.
Yeah. Yes.
So I'm finding all of this interesting. And right now, Zelensky attacked Iran.
Saw that.
What?
Claiming it's a. In fact, I had responded to somebody else's comment about it. Look at her go crazy. Zelensky attacked Iran, saying that he had credible information that Iran was going after Ukraine. Well, that's an around the mulberry bush kind of way of saying Iran is Russia's puppet. Okay. So Zelensky's out there trying to bring up Ukraine again. Right?
It's narrative war.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Iran's apparently in enough jeopardy that little Zelensky feels like he can.
Just. So Iran comes out and says there will be retaliation, and you're like, with what?
I know. What are you gonna do?
You're looking at two midgets trying to sound like they're 6 foot tall, right? It's hysterical to watch this thing going on. And Russia hasn't had to say a word. That's even more funny. Russia hasn't said a word.
They don't have to.
Because now it's between Ukraine and Iran.
That's funny.
It is funny.
Which is it really Iran, or are we still talking aspects of the city of London, or are we talking the EU? Are we talking Brussels?
I don't know who put Zelensky up to that that really bullheaded thought.
Because it's not the IRGC. You can't.
It's not the IRGC. We're talking about, and we've seen it. That's why I go to OFAC as much as I do.
Yeah.
These are about illicit networks. And I have to tell you, and you really do need to at least put it into Google Read Aloud and listen to the report, because the Cuba report actually ties a bunch of knots, right?
Yes.
It gives you some great...
Really?
Yes. Mary and I have been laughing back and forth. We were so over the target.
I was like, I've been dead on accurate with all my work now the last 6 months.
The Cuba reports on human rights practices? No, it's the 21st century
terrorism
report. It's State Department just put it out. We've sent it to you a few times.
Cuba Country Security Report, OSAC.
No. This is the Cuba report is off the Department of State. Here you go. I'm going to send you a link. I'll put it into the chats, okay? There's one.
Oh, I got it. Cuba, the capital
There's
of the
two.
21st century communism.
Yes.
Right.
It's a great read.
It's a great read. But like Mary and I've been saying, this
100 pages.
if you needed anything to confirm the validity of the research, it's right there. Even the transnational piece of it, and it never once, by the way, mentions City of London, but it does talk. It does mention transnational money vectors, right?
Shadow fleets.
No, somewhat,
Shadow
but
banking, maybe?
more. It's getting into these offshore networks that were funneling money into Cuba,
Okay.
and then it even goes into quite a bit of detail about the Cuba-Venezuela vector. So, I mean, it's well worth the read, and it's actually not difficult to read. It's actually very easy English. Names a few names. Talks about the flotilla that just happened. What, in February?
Talks about the connections with Obama and the Weather Underground.
Weather Underground.
Whoa.
Oh, it even mentions Ilhan Omar.
And,
Yeah.
Really? And Singham?
Her daughter. Her
No.
daughter was on the flotilla with
Her
Singham.
daughter was on that. Yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, that little trip that a lot of these, you
These
know.
billionaires were on. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
Mary used it to. She introduced the report to her group last night about what's in the report, and my show today takes it and shows you why it's important that report came out.
Is that what we're going to get into?
That's what we're going to get into. So if you don't mind, I'm going to get into it.
You don't need my permission.
While you're pulling that up, let me just point out the clip that we opened with those 3 eggheads. So the guy, I looked him up. He runs a site literally called lawfaremedia.com.
Oh,
And he's former FBI. Okay.
Yeah.
I put the link in the little Zoom chat if you want to play with it. The person that is actually running that show, Menendez. Yeah, you remember Goldbar Bob?
Goldbar
Yeah.
Bob.
That's his daughter. You know, Goldbar Bob that came from Cuba that was convicted for
I
espionage.
think Sean, you're supposed to jump out of your seat.
Cutter
Earth
and-
to Sean.
and you know, the money changing networks and
What?
that's his daughter, Goldbar Bob's daughter. She works for MS now.
Do you remember who his girlfriend was?
Yeah, she
Feisty?
ran for office here in Arlington. That was my wonderful time where I got to teach Grok what it means to present yourself as a victim. Remember?
I thought she was. Wasn't she like connected? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, she was Goldbar Bob's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was she? Wasn't she like Epstein or something? What's this?
She thanked Epstein. She laughed because she got more votes than Bush too. So she's got letters that are in the Epstein files, and Ro Khanna said she's
That's
a
what
victim.
it is. Yes. Ro Khanna brought her to the State of the Union.
Brought her to the State of the
tried
Union, but
to.
he also went after Todd Blanche and said she's a victim. She needs to be redacted.
Yes.
And Blanche says, you know, she's
Not a victim.
not a victim. And when you dig in, you find out what
Damn.
she was a witness against who?
She's co-conspirator.
Goldbar Bob.
Yeah, she's co-conspirator
And
too.
it was Ro Khanna's brother
Yeah.
that testified.
Oh,
that
yes. Oh my gosh. Oh. See, sometimes I just need to have my memory refreshed. There's so much. I've forgotten more than I've remembered. So
Goldbar Bob's from Cuba. Just
Yeah,
gonna
he's
leave that hanging there with the
and he's now in jail in Pennsylvania for 11 years.
but so was Rubio. Well, his family is.
Well, his
Yes.
family is a refugee. Yeah.
So,
that's not Goldbar Bob's situation.
so
No, no,
but
But yeah,
context would matter if this was a debate with some leftist
fair.
or something.
Fair
Yeah,
point.
Yeah.
Fair
Fair
point. But there's a big difference.
Yeah.
Menendez was actually born here and went there.
So
The
has
Rubio family was born there and came here in
so
a
has
lorry.
Karen Basuda. I
She's
think-
in the report too.
Yeah, Vansa
She's
Ramos.
in, yeah, Basurda is in there. Karen Bass is in there.
Same person.
Yeah. And the other mayor of Los Angeles that was also, it talks a lot about the brigade.
Vansa Ramos Brigade.
Yes. There's a huge section in there, and there's a huge section about the lawyers. I really encourage you to look that section up, Sean. Really encourage it.
About the lawyers.
Oh, don't tell him anymore. Make him read it. You got to read it. We lose the benefit of the launching out of the chair video, but
Okay.
look at that look on his face. Hey, do you ever see a defiant look or what? Look at that look on his face.
Chin tilt there.
Espionage empire, Cuba's Dirección de Inteligencia, is described as a highly effective recruiting ideologically motivated true believers rather than paid agents, prioritizing long-term.
That's why they couldn't trace them. There's no money trail.
Oh, they're Kool-Aid drinkers.
Yeah.
Huh? Big time.
And they go back regularly for a refill.
I gotta send this to Pinata because that's literally what he does when he watches the opposition, the mainstream media, is he gauges whether or not they're like Kool-Aid drinkers or they're operatives or not.
Yeah.
I imagine the ones on media are operatives, but they can't risk that. They probably have to.
Sean, we've been telling you now for a while, you need to read the report.
I'm reading it right now.
It's a good read.
It's a really, it's not nearly as much to read. It's not as overwhelming as you think. There's some great pictures and graphs in it. It's fabulous.
Broken out in 8 sections.
So I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to start today with something that I think deserves to be pointed at.
Montaneros, Tupamaros, Sandinistas, FALN, Macheteros in Puerto Rico and beyond.
I did a whole episode on FALN.
Wow.
Yeah, the terror group that functioned in major cities. They blew up and killed people.
Oh my gosh. It trained
Extremely
tens of thousands at camps on the island. Later, successes included deep involvement in the Sandinistas' victory in Nicaragua and sophisticated post-Cold War partnership.
Mary, is now the time to
Hugo-
tell Sean where Weather Underground was trained?
Cuba.
Right before they took over the SDS. You remember we talked about that before and the importance of the SDS and why the Weather Underground had to take that.
SDS? Sandinistas?
They had to
Students,
get the
Democratic
Labor
Society.
Party, Maoist Labor Party out to take control because there was over 100,000 registered students. So they went to Cuba and trained, according to this report, came back and then took that over.
Took over SDS. SDS at the time was very Russia aligned, and although he wasn't Chavez wasn't Trotsky, he used elements of Trotsky's principle about global domination in his hybrid plan, if you will.
And that was handed down.
He recruited and trained many of our left-wing groups here. In fact, almost all of them went to Cuba to get trained.
The Weather Underground basically matriculated into Antifa.
So you can't technically align him with Trotsky until you recognize that his blueprint is very similar to Trotsky's blueprint and very non-similar to Lenin. Okay?
Yeah.
Lenin believed in just one country. Trotsky believed in global. And Trotsky believed in permanent revolution, permanent acts of
That's
of
anarchy.
War. So when you look at this whole report with that lens, what you realize is it was more than just a training ground. It was like a central hub, and all these left-aligned global elites all feed into what was going on there with their money, protection, the ideological protection, all of that all plays together.
Interesting.
Really want you to look at the section on the lawyers.
Yeah, you want to read the lawyers.
They're the linchpin to this bullshit.
Are they lawyers based out of Cuba, or are they lawyers here that are...
No, they're here.
The National Lawyers Guild here.
Motherfucker.
Right. So you
And the
know
bar
how we're
was
looking.
just, remember, the bar was just dragged in front of the Congress last week.
Well, we've got also have DOJ disavowing itself from several bar entities.
Yeah.
But the other thing to remember is the lawfare that you are watching and have been watching for years is a Cuban cutout of that blueprint.
Also involves the overthrow of Venezuela. They
Yes.
used the lawyers
They use lawyers to do it there.
This is why Cuba's next. So, because I just answered my own question. My question was going to be, okay, so we get this Cuba report, right? So, okay, and then what actions are taking place to combat it? Well, after Iran, I suspect they're going to tackle this issue next. But something tells me that Iran is connected to this.
Yes, I don't think they're one then another. I think they're
It's all the
tangent.
same. Yeah.
I think they're together.
But
They're all in play.
Which also speaks to, because now Ukraine is linked to Iran, but what's going on in Ukraine is the very same story.
oh man.
Different region.
Yeah, just different control
Same
hubs
pattern.
in different regions. Okay, I got you.
Same pattern.
All right. Well, take it away. You share screen anytime you want. Don't let me hold you
So
up.
I am going to start with something. Mainly, I'm going to bypass this. I am going to go back to, you guys are going to remember this. This is Trump's farewell speech.
I'm eating, but I'm going off
Okay.
camera.
So I specifically put this at a special part because this is one of my favorites. Are you ready? Here you go.
We did what we came here to do, and so much more. This week, we inaugurate a new administration and pray for its success in keeping America safe and prosperous. We extend our best wishes, and we also want them to have luck, a very important word.
Yeah,
you catch
That's
that?
bad. If Trump wishes you luck, you're screwed.
So luck in a legal sense, if you're lucky enough to complete your crime, you face stiffer penalties. Okay. That brought me to his washing machine speech, to a special part in that one. Listen carefully. This whole discussion is a bit disjointed, but you know the meaning of double meanings, right? So let me play this piece. Where's my go? There it is.
And the politicians allowed this to happen for many, many decades. You have people called middlemen. I don't know who the middlemen are. I don't know. They never say middle women, so they're politically not correct. But I've heard the term middlemen for a long time. They are so wealthy.
It's interesting that he calls out middle women. Go ahead. Just gonna point to it.
They are so wealthy. Nobody has any idea who the hell they are, what they do. They make more money than the drug companies. You know, in all fairness, at least the drug companies have to produce a product, and it has to be a good product. But the middlemen, well, the rebate that I'm doing cuts out the middlemen and it reduces costs, and the money goes back to the people purchasing the drugs. So I have a lot of enemies out there. This may be the last time you'll see me for a while.
Catch that?
Yep.
He links middlemen to the drug companies, then disassociates the drug companies. I don't know who the middlemen are. They're very wealthy. This may be the last time you see me for a while.
Yeah.
Interesting, right?
Yeah, very.
So as I was going through this, and I did my great show last week that everybody talked about, I noted something that I forgot to mention. And on that same morning, Grassley was visited by Nikki Flores.
Huh.
She was trying to dissuade Ron Johnson and Grassley from looking into the Biden-China connections. Okay. When they wouldn't get dissuaded properly, they leaked the fact that this briefing had happened. So Grassley sends her a letter on the 25th. So on August 6th, 2020, this is in the morning of that speech in front of the washing machines, we were finishing our September 23rd, 2020 report on Hunter Biden's financial connections to foreign governments and questionable foreign nationals. You provided a briefing to us on behalf of the FBI and intelligence community. As we publicly and privately stated to you, Director Wray, since that briefing, the briefing was unnecessary and was only done because of the pressure from our Democratic colleagues, including Democratic leadership, to falsely attack our Biden investigation as advancing Russian disinformation. I'm going to read the next paragraph. I'm not reading the whole thing. For example, July 13th, 2020, then Majority Leader Schumer, Senator Warner, Speaker Pelosi, and Representative Schiff sent a letter with a classified attachment to the FBI to express a purported belief that Congress was subject of a foreign disinformation campaign. So this is July 13th. So what you're saying is Schumer, Warner, Pelosi, and Schiff were tattling on Ron Johnson and Chuck Grassley. Okay. So, and what was in the quote classified attachment was public information. So they're tattling. So then Nikki Flores and Ben Benavides quick go over to Congress on August 6th and they have this conversation. And then Trump just happens to weave in this completely disjointed comment about middlemen. And I may not see you for a while. Right. He does that weave well, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
So that's not a coincidence in my view. Okay. You can think what you will, but when you look at Round River and the design of it to be an intelligence middleman, it starts to make sense, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What is the middleman? Literally, it was walled off to prevent, other than the selected few, to have access to the information in there. So if we treat intelligence as a form of currency or trade good, the intelligence middleman model moves beyond simple gatekeeping. Instead, it operates as an active structural intermediary layer, viewing the actions of individuals like Nikki Flores and the underlying system infrastructure, colloquially referred to in oversight text as the plumbing. That's where my title came from. Through this lens, yields several critical analytical parallels to economic middlemen. And it goes down through it: controlled visibility, risk insulation, arbitrary valve transformation. And it goes through all of this middleman. So you get Nikki and Benavides trying to stop this investigation that Grassley and Johnson are doing into the Biden-China connection. It came to their attention because you had their lookouts in Congress literally tattling, right? And it translates that later that afternoon, at 3:30 that afternoon, into a disjointed discussion by Trump in front of 17 washing machines, information laundering, right? As middlemen, and they don't like him. I'm the only president that can do what needs to be done. I mean, he just goes down that list. So what are your thoughts on that? And oh, by the way, if you needed one more in on February 9th of 2023, that letter was officially entered into the record by Johnson in a hearing on none other than weaponization of the federal government 3 years later. So what do you think? Sean's quiet.
Wow. I'm still processing. I don't have any thoughts yet.
You don't have any thoughts yet? What do you mean you don't have any thoughts?
I'm still processing.
What I'm saying is they figured out the Round River piece. They figured out what Nick Flores was doing. They figured out who their tattletales were within Congress. And Trump says in that speech, if you don't see me for a while, you may not see me for a while. In other words, and I have been saying for years, I think it was in that speech when he said, we're going to let them steal the election, which gets back to the farewell speech. We wish for them to have luck, a very important word.
Yeah, luck's not good.
No, luck is not good.
And the Round River thing targeted senators, too.
Yes, it came out that 44 senators were wrapped up in that. Because they were doing, if you recall, the part of that investigation was the J6 issue.
So that intel that was presented to like Grassley, how did he find out about it? How did he? Because wasn't it the intelligence agents that were involved in Round River?
No, what ended up happening, Grassley has a cadre of whistleblowers that he's been protecting. Right. And it's the whistleblowers that have been bringing him this information.
Okay.
That's how we found out about Round River.
Well, Grassley's always been connected to whistleblowers, right?
Yeah, that's been the cornerstone of his career since he came to D.C.
It's not lost.
So
you're dealing with information laundering and money laundering, and he gave a speech in front of washing machines.
Right.
Yeah, that speech, I'll never forget that one.
Right. So we normally think of laundering as in money only, but as I presented last week, information is laundered because that's the first part of everything, right?
Right.
Which is where I get to, and I'm going to go back to sharing, because what I'm showing now, hold on, get it to come up. What I'm showing now is that's where this deck comes in. Okay. This complete deck is all about taking what we did last week and showing the
nice.
evolution of into foreign influence.
Very nice.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm literally needed to do this because in the last briefing, it was very much a domestic thing. But I showed you in that global mapping where they literally took unvetted gossip and laundered it through the Five Eye network to give it the legitimacy it needed to create an investigation.
That's right.
Then when it was completely blown out of the water, they were told to segregate it. It needed to be walled off, as well as the Clinton investigation, the mid-year, because it was tainted information. What they did is they migrated all that information into Round River, gave a select few access to it, barred it from everybody else because it had a protected status, and then continued to do what they were doing. And it became what we see now as impeachments and lawfare against Trump, lawfare against citizens, the fact that Congress got wrapped up in this. So you're watching not just a constitutional question about separation of branches, but literally a national security threat unfold.
And do you think the people that are the purveyors are not even aware of what they're doing, being a national security threat, or do you think they just don't care?
I don't think they
care. They
care.
just do what they're told, which is
I don't even know if it's do as you're told. I think at some point it becomes a matter of we can't let this shit come to the surface about how we faked.
So cover your ass.
Yeah, remember the whole lawsuit thing, all the lawfare during the first term wasn't because Trump was guilty of anything. It was designed to impede the functioning of his administration. Right. You know, they were trying to wrap it up in court cases and rhetoric so that the Trump administration itself was too burdened to get anything done. What was their goal? They want to go back to the old order, right? They want to go back to the status quo.
Of course.
And that's where this comes in. So when I look at what we showed last week and what I'm watching, especially since the Cuba report, what is intriguing to me is the convergence of everything. So I'm not trying to say, well, yeah, I am. I'm going to just put it out there. There are people who did bad things, and I think we're at that point where it's finally coming to a head. So, when you look at all the rhetoric that's going on, look at everything that's being said, it is not beyond the realm of possibility that this all feeds together. If you've got all this kind of foreign influence going on, if you've got the issue of information laundering that is in hyperbolic state right now, then what is it beyond the realm of possibility that foreign influence has evolved from what was a domestic unverified political gossip into a transnational architecture that was leveraged to try to take down the U.S.?
Yes.
I think that's a fair statement. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yep.
And we're watching it in front of us right now. Right?
Yep.
That, like I said, the Cuba report really gives you a great understanding. So what did I use? Actually, there's more in here, but these are the three biggest documents that I used. One is from Congress, one is from the GAO, and this is from the Department of State. So when Rubio released his report, when I was reading it, it was like, wait a minute, because they actually talk about donor advised funds, how money is laundered through. They actually talk about the fact that they're using these opaque corporate structures, which is where it gets into the GAO report that I read on transparency. There's other reports, and you'll see them peppered throughout. But when I took these three together, I went, oh, wow, we're in a different place, because this is literally saying to you, there's an all of government effort with Congress, I might add, that is going after the opaqueness that they carefully built over all these decades. So what I want to do here, and that's why I put this in here, the methodology of how I researched the question that I researched is grounded, by the way, everybody, in only primary source information. There's no media reports in any of this. It's Congress, the federal government, judicial, and even the Congressional Research Service, which is a part of Congress, a lot of their reports. And one of the things that you will notice, if you go up to the CRS, which runs, by the way, CRS runs Influence Watch, which is a pretty up-to-date database on all these influence networks. But if you go up to the CRS, they usually put out stuff that's relevant to the investigations we're watching, and they put it out in proximity to the investigations. It's not something that should be dismissed. So I just wanted to point that out so that you can see. I did take, this isn't hyperbole. This slide shows you the landscape of current individuals. If you look at who's currently, this is not a complete list. I just wanted to give you a sampling. Jack Smith, Thomas Wyndham, you know these two, right? The special counsel.
Yep.
Thomas Wyndham was one of the lead prosecutors under Project Coconut. He was a lead prosecutor that was also on a filter team. That is illegal for him to do that.
Yeah, we went into this last week, right?
Right. We went into this one last week. We know about Nikki Flores. She's actually a bridge. I see her as a bridge because she ran counterintelligence. She's also the person that is the manager, if you will, of Round River and the parceled information. But what's interesting is the Neville Roy Singham, the Weiss, and the Zapatero information that's been coming out lately. And in fact, in the Cuba report, they talk about Iglesia, who Zapatero is the former prime minister of Spain. Iglesia considered Zapatero his mentor, and he specifically mentioned in the Cuba report for his influence operations, he's the former, Iglesia is the former vice president of Spain. So all of these people are coming up at the same time. That's not an accident, right? At all. That's not an accident. Nor are these organizations that are currently under research. We've now seen, for a fact, Arabella advisors are under congressional. Most of it's congressional. Typically what I have found, that what you're seeing happening at the congressional level, there's almost always a parallel investigation coming out of the DOJ. Almost always. And you don't find out until they go in for the kill. So I'm looking at these activities here, the congressional ones, as being pivotal to a parallel investigation going on. You got Arabella Advisors, which we already know about their nonprofit organization. Burger Action is a 501c4 where a lot of this funny money goes through. You got People's Forum, Tricontinental, and Breakthrough. They're all connected to Neville Roy Singham and a lot of the chaos that's going on. In fact, Breakthrough News has openly talked about the ICE facility riots, and they're kind of an organizing principle up there in New Jersey. So then you got the DAFs, which there's a congressional research report on that. But you've got the same thing happening within Treasury, where they're taking the DAFs to a new level, and they're going after universities and the federal research institutions. Two separate GAO reports that are attacking the same thing, the opacity created by DAFs, donor advised funds, DAFs, as well as the shadow banking and shell company metric. So those aren't accidental. These are all happening like within the last several months. Okay, so we're not looking at independent issues. Would you agree?
Correct.
Yeah.
There's a convergence here. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
So when I take that to the next step, and I'm trying to rush through my documents here, we looked at the individual. These three stuck out to me. I'm going to explain it.
Hans-Jörg Weiss. That sounds really familiar.
He's the Swiss guy that's been funding a lot of left-wing stuff. So I don't know how else to
Switzerland.
say.
I mean, again, going back to Switzerland, I just, it's oftentimes overlooked. Again, where's your money safe? Where's really rich people's money
Well, it's safe in
safest?
Switzerland as long as you're part of the collective for now.
Right. Swiss bank accounts. You got the Caymans, and you got the IMF in Basel, Switzerland. Right. You got Davos.
A lot of money shenanigans. How's that?
100%.
So what's interesting about this and why I got excited with the Cuba report is this guy right here. We actually gave the information to the Spanish authorities because it was suspected that he was running a bribery ring for access. And so we gave information to the Spanish authorities that had his place raided. And it's an interesting story. It's about a guy who owned an airline connected to Venezuela that got a bailout, $58 million bailout from the Spanish. And it was actually an influence peddling activity. So we evidently had sound bites from phone conversations that we gave to the Spanish, and they raided him as a result of that. What's interesting is that happened in, I want to say, May. And now you've got the Cuba report that talks about Iglesia, who sees this guy as his mentor, who's a big part of the influence campaign to protect Cuba. So between Zapatero and Iglesia, they kind of run cover for Cuba and what they're doing, and they're the ones putting out all this other information.
Okay.
I hope that makes sense. Yep. So noticing these three converging, and they're all very much connected to shadow networks, shadow funding that is specifically been called out as funding crises in America and around the world. I find this interesting. You got China, Switzerland, and Spain. Very, very interesting. So just so you know. So as we move on to the next slide, what I'm looking at is then looking at how this all of government effort is going, what they're doing with it. And so it really, there's a dashboard that I've been created, and I go look at all of these sites on a regular basis. Obviously, Congress, there's a lot of research going on, but you've also got a lot of activity in the DOJ that's not making it to the news as often as it should because it doesn't connect to the stories that most people are looking at domestically.
I like this nice, beautiful slide. This is very, very eye-catching.
It meets what you wanted,
this
right?
Is nice, yes.
It's a cutout, just so you know. Matt's been doing the cutouts for me. So what we're looking at is taking what we're seeing and reducing it to a dashboard or a blueprint that the federal government is using to take this down, to go after all of these networks. And these are all real documents, all real investigations, all real actions. I mean, who disagrees that Scott Bessent has been kicking ass at the Treasury?
He's been crushing it. He's actually absolutely crushing it.
I know, right?
He just did a speech the other day.
Mm-hmm. And then at GAO, all the new rules that have come out that have limited some of the things they've been doing. But even FARA, have you noticed a lot of indictments that have been coming out include FARA charges? Foreign Agent Registration Act. They're acting as foreign agents here in this country. So there's obviously something to this, right? There's obviously more going on. And there's a common pattern as a result that I've been noticing and I thought was really important to talk about because that pattern is not casual. So if you look at the bridge between what you would consider more contemporary oversight and what I'm going to show you is a 5-domain architecture next. When you look at these two pieces together, you're looking at systems that are revealing, that are specifically designed to reveal that there's a lot more oversight going on than anybody thinks.
Okay.
Okay. And I see different committees. I see different agencies and departments, kind of different approaches to the same investigation coming from all over the place. And despite all the differences between these different groups, the same institutional functions that are under scrutiny keep showing up. We see where narratives are produced, narratives create the need and the understanding of money needs to move, and that money is what creates a body of knowledge that becomes established into our system that keeps it funded. So that it makes this whole thing come around even closer to like, holy shit, we're watching a convergence. Let me show you this. The other thing I noticed as I was going through all my research, and I've been researching this stuff now for quite a while, is every single crisis or every single turn that we've seen begin with a crisis. You got, just in modern knowledge, right? You got 9/11, 2008, you got COVID. There's 3 direct issues right there. Every single one of those used a narrative that was pushed by the media to normalize the conversation. That narrative was quickly made institutional with laws that were passed that heavily funded something, NGOs that started moving money around, universities with their, quote, research papers. In fact, there was another research paper for climate change that just got pulled. But you see the institutional domain is used to solidify the information that was created as a result of a crisis, right? It always comes down, though, to making sure that there is a throughput of money on a regularly appropriated basis. And those funding chains, USAID, right, go through the appropriations process with Congress, and it makes sure that these levels keep funded at all times. And what we're watching, though, and what I started to show you last week, is it's become a civilizational crisis, right? Because now we're using narratives that are made up out of whole cloth to keep a money flow that is now creating a governance issue, and public trust is in the tank. Do you understand these 5 domains? And I call this domain 0 because I can't prove, although I think they do heavily leverage, I can't prove they create the crises. We all have our opinion. I have my opinion. I think they are created, but I have no definitive primary source information to prove it yet.
Not yet.
Right. So please don't hit me for calling that domain 0 without the proof. But I told you right up front, I only use primary source information. So with what I've got, putting this together is pretty big. Would you agree?
Yep.
So that takes me to the mapping, because this is where you asked me, Sean, on Thursday, what do we got on tap for Monday? And I said to you, I don't know yet. Right. And that brought me to this particular kind of a point, because I kept saying, wait a minute, if we've got all of this that I can definitely document from the deck last week, knowing that there's an international nexus to this, there's got to be a pathway, right? There's got to be going from the domestic to the international. And sure enough, there is. I watched all of this materialize over here. So you got a broad collection of investigative material, information, whether true or otherwise, that becomes the actual architecture of the international order, right? So you're looking at a situation where they're using what was captured, even in illegal investigations, using that to create a situation that takes that plumbing into an international vector. And so when I see these functions persist, and I see organizations, technologies at various jurisdictions even with the people that are changing, the structure isn't changing. There's something worth looking into. So before I even go in to all 5 of the domains individually, I wanted to explain how this all relates to my research, because I was looking into how information systems develop these mechanisms to broad collection that became less about verifiable, constitutionally well-seated approach into a repository that wasn't just foreign but domestic, so that they had continuity across administrations. Doesn't matter who's president, doesn't matter who's in charge of the EU, doesn't matter any of that. This is a network of systems that are using information as a bit of currency. I hope that makes sense.
Yep.
And so when you put all of this together, then what you're seeing is a complete mapping from this plumbing designed to protect illegal investigations into a system that's designed to protect a global order.
Mm-hmm.
Is that clear for you?
For me, it is.
Sean disappeared.
He'll be back.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have to laugh.
I know. I'm wishing I'd brought coffee up here.
Well, I'm really, I got a lot of slides, but it's going faster than I thought it would. So what I did is I took that analytical framework.
Yeah. I like that slide, by the way.
Isn't it pretty?
I particularly like it, and I like what's on it.
Well, if you look at this is my centerpiece here, because it's really about taking those collections of information and all these documented findings, both in these 2 GAO reports. What's interesting about these GAO reports is neither of them talk about the same thing, but they both came to the same conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And what it was that they came to is that you now have this transnational portion that actually became the plumbing for the politicization that we showed last week. And now it's the exact, those surveillance programs are the exact piece that they're using in this transnational thing. So they're ingesting all of that information and they're giving it to whomever needs it for whatever effort they have. So you got research being exposed, ownership, the shell companies, the opacity of that. We're watching that actually come out. These 2 GAO reports go a long way to do that. Right. You're starting to see supply chain visibility, and you're actually now able, for the first time, you're actually looking at the ability to map the infrastructure that was designed to stay hidden well beyond any president, well beyond any term.
They started creating, they started locking the president out right after Eisenhower.
Yes. And there's proof of that.
Yes.
They started blocking. Yeah. They started blocking information from the president so that they could not do their job. This is really what's created the situation we're in. But we saw that come out in a disastrous way after 9/11.
Yes.
When it was revealed that the CIA withheld sensitive investigative or intelligence products from both Clinton and Bush too.
And the Watergate D-class.
The Watergate D-class proved there's no audio. Remember that infamous 7-second audio? There was no audio.
No.
So they're using intel as a weapon, and we can go back for several decades, but now that weapon is not just. I mean, I've been saying for years, Nixon, that was a coup against the sitting president.
Absolutely.
But you ended up, remember Reagan, they tried to kill him. He had an assassination attempt because he wasn't playing games. You had under Clinton, you had a couple of crises. Under Bush too, you not only have 9/11, but don't forget you got the hurricane down in Louisiana,
Oh
which
my gosh.
which exposed all the corruption down there. So you got these crises that continually feed in and create an intel and money process for those that don't have our best interests at heart. And what these two GAO reports do is they try to bring that back into alignment. Those are also two very good reports, more technical, but they're good. This is where you go from domestic to transnational. And this takes us finally into the real crux of this deck, because we're taking what is a domestic system, Crossfire Hurricane, and we're taking it into a transnational leverage. So I'm not going to focus over here because you know this from last week. I'm going to actually focus on the extensions where it went transnational. Cloud is a big part of that. Right. You've also got the Five Eye network, if you will. It's not just Five Eye. There's foreign intelligence per se. There's several levels of the eyes. Five Eye being the top one. But you use an intel sharing apparatus, which gives legitimacy to any investigation you do because it's coming through the intel sharing apparatus, right? That's how we got Crossfire Hurricane. And so the NGO and fiscal sponsors, the cloud, the universities, and the financial networks all feed into this. Every bit of this is part and parcel to the same thing. So you're looking at, and up till now, I've been kind of focusing on how they maintained continuity. Now we're looking at the systems themselves, how they took those systems and made an enduring structure that they could be sure was in place permanently. This is why cloud is such a big deal right now, by the way.
Right.
If you think about it, the reason for cloud is if we either get it fixed during this term, or there's a chance to leverage it, it becomes the next evolution of corrupted intel.
Yeah.
I think that's important. So let's talk about Domain Zero specifically, because this is, like I said, one of the things I noticed is there's always a crisis. And then when you trace the crises, you could trace it right through the same architecture every single time. So we're looking at up to this point, everything's been, I talked about domestic and institutional continuity, but now you got to take this bigger, because what happens when these same organizational functions start operating across national boundaries outside of your territories, right? What happens then? And what you see here is that same pattern coming up over and over and over again, like I showed you on the last slide. And so now we're at this point of, okay, what kinds of shocks are we talking about? Well, everything is a shock at some point, but you're looking at a situation that literally creates a systemic pressure. Wait a minute, let's go there. So you're looking at taking these architectures that we've already talked about and looking at how they became, I didn't advance my slide properly. There we go. Looking at how, there we go. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, guys. My husband's lines don't match up. Okay. I'm sorry. He did the cutouts. I apologize for that. So you're looking at the external shock. This is typically a large-scale event like a 9/11.
Right.
Or a financial crash of 2008, or even COVID in 2020. JFK was a seismic shock, right?
Yes.
That creates pressure across all these institutions, both domestic and foreign, that forces those governments or those institutions to adapt to meet those needs. And then you start the cycle.
Would a long-standing war like Vietnam or the Iraq-Afghanistan debacle qualify under systemic pressure?
That's the pressure campaign. The start of the war is the crises, and that's 9/11. Right. Okay. But the pressure campaign is you got to keep the narrative going to keep the funding going.
Right.
So yes.
And
So
then you have all of the adaptation with the military industrial complex, and everybody's making money. Okay.
Right.
Just throwing that out there.
No, it's exactly what that is. And you end up with a situation that becomes global. I can't understand why I can't get this to come up. Okay. I don't know, the box must have been elongated or something because it's not coming up. So nevertheless, you got whether it's geopolitical war, a pandemic, 2008 style crash, or even a national security shock like an impeachment, right? Technological information that's disrupted, like, I don't know, how about 140 million people's credit data being hacked? You know, they're focusing on the 220 million voter registration files that somehow made it to China, but we've had many data hacks, right?
Over and over.
Over and over and over again. We're not talking small hacks either. I think almost everybody in this country has gotten a letter from Equifax saying you're getting a free year of service.
Right.
And you're like, why would I give it to you? You weren't protecting it to begin with. But those data hacks create a seismic pressure, if you will. So the point is that domain zero is the system or the thing that creates the need to start your process, right? Get your engines running, if you will, so that you can take it to the next level and show how that the narratives that are going to be built are designed to bring in money. So I put this together to show an external shock, usually, right? Terrorist attacks on the U.S. creates the pressure, and the institution will adapt. And you see that same thing happening across the board, the exact same pattern for all of them. And that got me looking into the information laundering loop, because that's immediately what happens next, right?
Right.
So this is comes right out of the Cuba report, by the way, guys.
Now you're talking my domain here.
Right. This is literally a pretty big section in the Cuba report, right? And where they're talking about how they create narratives and they launder that information through these trusted media and through the social programs to keep the pressure on, right? To build a narrative that ends up becoming a stress for the institutions. So literally out of, and I talked about information laundering last week, so I got excited when I read this part in the report, right? Because I know, so really loved it. Well, I didn't expect to have my information validated as quickly as it was. I mean, we're talking 3 days later, right?
Yep.
So, and I find this fascinating because remember the weaponization, right? The Pelosi with the that feedback loop. How did it go? Remind me.
Smear.
Wrap up smear. Thank you. Same design, right? You weaponize information, you get it out there, and then you capitalize off that information to make sure that you can keep a system running. So it's actually a great case study out of the Cuba report, but it highly, highly, highly talks to what I've been presenting all along. In the Cuba report, he calls it the Havana blueprint, and we've got documented cases that prove it's fact.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I find this fascinating myself.
When was this Cuba report written?
It was released last Thursday.
Okay, so I was wondering if it started back in Biden's administration, but
well,
no, I get the sense it was started early in the second Trump term.
Okay.
You may want to look up a spy that was convicted named Roche. It's in the report. The conviction came under Merrick Garland.
Yes, it did.
24. And that is the most damaging spy that's ever in recorded history in the United States.
Right.
Wow.
He was he was an ambassador. He was a national security advisor. He was advisor to CENTCOM. He had a 50-year career. Yes.
Oh my
50-year
gosh.
career of doing this.
Yes. 50 years.
And the State Department goes into extreme detail
Yes.
about
I read it.
that case.
I read that entire section last night.
Wow.
Aloud in the yeah.
So bad actor.
Very,
Very, very bad actor.
A bunch of, they all got people killed. All of these assholes got a lot.
Somebody lost their life as a result of what they were doing. But you asked me, when was this written? I do believe the report is more recently written, but it's capitalizing on probably 20 years of information.
At least.
Directly. Mm-hmm. And then pulling in historical information is needed. Mm-hmm. Just by the way it's written, it looks like it's a culmination of information since 9/11.
Yeah, I would.
And then it pulls in the historical.
Okay.
Gave a lot more details on the WASP network. I remember
a ton of details on WASP. Yeah,
a ton in there about the WASP network.
Wow.
Yeah,
which is why I was so excited when I pulled this together, because this particular piece in the Cuba report perfectly aligns with what I've been talking about with the domains. Mm-hmm. Perfectly. Mm-hmm. Which you can't. I mean, I'm taking a victory lap, okay?
I was too.
I know.
Bad.
We were both talking about, man, we've been over the target. It felt good to see a primary source document basically say, well done, good and faithful servants, right?
Love that. Isn't that what we all strive for?
Isn't that we all, yes. Yeah. So this particular slide, as I go back, remember, domain 1 starts or is given its entry on the stage as a result of a crisis. That crisis, then you start to develop networks, and that network becomes a cycle that's laundered over and over and over again until it becomes institutionalized and there's funding appropriated toward it. So you develop a network, and then you have that pipeline that is used to collect and store any movement information that you can find. Hence, during COVID, it was anti-COVID. So they collected all this information for the anti-COVID narrative, and then they put that out as a censorship. But what they built from that is an ecosystem of communications that was designed to put us in our place, right? So it's all a part of that information laundering. And then who made the decisions? Well, the people within the government that had the most interest in making that decision, right? The decision environment becomes how those narratives are shaped. And we wonder why so many people bought into the vaccine, bought into the COVID as a disease, and it was a rampant disease killing millions, when in fact it was more the interventions that they were using than the virus. Mm-hmm. And then you've got put through these filters. Remember the big report that and that came out in the Rand Paul files, that the team that designed or wrote the one report talking about COVID being zoonotic themselves stopped believing in their own report.
Yeah.
They themselves said, we can't even, they were giving it maybe a 30% factual basis. So, I mean, the one report that was cited more than any other report during COVID that was used to prove, yes, this is a real thing. You got the team that wrote that report saying, yeah, we don't believe it was zoonotic. We believe it was a lab leak.
Yeah.
Which is an important thing.
And Fauci's been in the headlines lately, too.
Yes, he testifies before Rand Paul on Wednesday, which is great because Fauci got a blanket, very broad pardon for everything that's happened from 2014 through 2025.
Which can you do before even charges are levied?
Not normally, but Ed Martin has said you have to take a pardon as it is. So it's interesting because the Supreme Court's weighed in on such pardons and has said that if you took a pardon, you waive your right to the Fifth Amendment. So
you can decline a pardon, by the way.
You can decline a pardon, but Fauci accepted it within seconds.
Krista asked something interesting today. If Fauci doesn't even acknowledge his name, same as the Act Blue people, then that would be an indictment indication, correct?
Wow. That is
Yeah,
a great
if he
question.
tries to, he can't plead the fifth.
Correct.
Just
And the Supreme Court has reiterated that.
Unless there's something else cooking separate. From
it has to be something outside of his, because remember the pardon is from 2014. I'm going to bring that up again. Remember what happened in 2014 with the moratorium on gain of function. And remember my deck on that, where I proved that gain of function's been going on since the 60s and 70s after Nixon ordered them to destroy those pathogens.
Which is nothing new. This community has known this for a while now, right?
For a long time, right. But he adamantly said that he did not fund gain of function.
He stated it as fact, too, in multiple occasions. So that should be perjury.
It should be, but he's got a pardon that encompasses that time frame.
Well, then that needs to become public.
It is public. It's in his own hearing.
No, I mean, it needs to be made public.
Well, do you think Rand Paul is not going to miss an opportunity to shine?
Oh, yeah.
I don't trust Rand anymore.
Whether you do or not, this has been Rand Paul's. He's hung his hat on this rack for a long time, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
He's going to take every opportunity he can to make sure he has a bang.
Yeah, like this is the actual legacy.
Yeah, that's his legacy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also going to remind you, I showed you that the whole network, how DARPA and DITRA were actually behind the network that created the COVID ecosystem. And they used all the grant money from all the grant making agencies to include Fauci's agency. And they themselves paid EcoHealth, remember? So I'm sure some of that's going to come out. I hope it does, because I think what people need to understand is the size and scope of that network. So anyway, that decision environment really created a lot of weaponization of government, because they started going after people that, remember, you lost your jobs or whatever if you didn't take the vaccine. So now you're getting into a different territory. If it does come out, which Johnson's done yeoman's work on this one.
Yes.
If it does come out that the vaccine was a bioweapon, we're in a different place, right?
Very.
We're talking acts of war here.
Acts of war.
Yeah.
So this, like I said, this is domain one. It's developing the media ecosystem that produces the narratives that become, domain worthy, right? Where you can look into that. And that's where it gets me to the Cuba report. I am so excited about this slide and what comes next, because when you look at the source material that I've been looking at, and I've got not just this, you've got the House committee materials, you got congressional hearings, you got NGO registrations that we've all been looking through.
So for anyone that questions whether or not Feisty just relies on AI, I can confirm for you guys right here, right now.
Oh, no.
Mayor, I won't speak for Mayor, but I'll speak for myself. She does not use AI. She might use AI to make these slides, but she uses resources.
Yeah.
In order for AI to make these slides.
I've read, that's why I get tired, right? I've read a lot of material, and damn it, because the Cuba report said I could have put down all that material and just used Cuba report because it was all in it. But this information that came out of the Cuba report really excited me, because the integrity of the information in there, the crosswalk between what we thought we knew and proof of concept in that report, all of it crosses right into some of these other resources that I've been using. So I wanted to show, I show it as a case study because it serves as a case study, at least for my level of research, because it tells you exactly what the internal shocks were, the external, what happened, why it happened, who was responsible for it, and it even poses some theories as to what should be done. So I thought it was a very important piece to add to this slide, because you're now looking at a situation that, as information runs through the society, now with the Cuba report, you have a complete blueprint on how information becomes institutionalized power.
Yeah.
Mary, would you have anything to add to that?
I think one of the things we have not talked about is the key component of the universities that's highlighted, because Cuba deliberately targeted undergrad and graduate students. That was their entire strategy, which is how they radicalized them into ideologues, thus not having to pay them. So there wasn't a record of any of that. And there's a lot of institutions, it specifically highlights Harvard in there, that has outposts in Cuba.
That's funny because
they have sister institutions, and it also has to do with the medical institution. So
meanwhile, we're subsidizing Harvard.
Right. And the medical institution is also tied to, like Hamas.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean's going to be reading.
I'm telling you, my friend.
Oh, my God.
I thought about doing a show where I just sat there and read the damn report aloud for people. I thought about it.
Yeah.
I'd still do it as a sidebar. But yeah, like there's enough.
Wow.
There's so much information in there.
There's enough in there.
There's 100 pages. I just put it in Grok and asked Grok to summarize, and it's
You're never going to get a good summary.
You're going to get what you need.
No.
Nope. Sorry.
That's one of those, and I kept trying to stress it to my audience yesterday. Like, I really encourage people. I know people are like, it's 100 pages. Just trust me.
Trust me. This is one. This is one you're going to need to read. You know, the neat thing about textualized information is you can read a chapter, put it down, read a chapter, put it down.
Right.
And it is in 8 sections, and there are pictures and graphs and stuff.
But
So
I would advise doing that anyway,
like
because
80 pages.
each section has its own weight, and you're going to want to think about it and digest it.
Yeah.
So make a commitment to read it over the next 8 days. You're going to get a lot out of it, because the blueprint is so evident in everything we're watching unfold. What they did was laid out exactly what we're watching. And it's couched as a Cuba report, but you're going to be hard pressed not to see the similarities.
Yeah. Well, and they expanded this into 90 countries.
Right.
And Sean, did you know that Fidel had his eye on Venezuela? That was the jewel that he wanted, and they did a land invasion, but Venezuela was able to push him back. I didn't even know that one.
No. What?
Yeah. So
when I read that, I thought, I think I remember that.
But then he must have been successful to a degree, because Cuban guards.
Well, think about
were
it.
Protected.
What did he do? What did he do?
Huh?
He corrupted. He used the cartels, and he corrupted public officials, the military and law enforcement.
Same
Yes.
thing here
And
in
so
the
he
US.
went in. He went in from the inside when he couldn't come in from the outside.
Same
You
thing.
know whose observers were on the ground when they voted in the communists in Venezuela? The legal observers. It was the National Lawyers Guild.
Right.
Why I told you to go pay attention. Right. Okay. Which is the funders and the people for Black Panther Party, Black Liberation Party, Weathermen Underground, Antifa, Southern Poverty Law Center. All the shit.
Oh my God.
They were literally, that's why they've always said, well, how dare the, Trump administration not acknowledge him? Well, because their assholes were there verifying it.
Holy shit. And you can't just come out with that, because you're going to destroy, you could arguably harm the Justice Department, or justice in general, or, courts, all courts. You could arguably destabilize society as a whole.
When you read the Cuba report, Sean, one of the things you're going to be hard pressed not to do is see the parallels for what they did in Venezuela to what they're doing here now.
What they've been doing.
If you step back long enough and think about other countries, you're going to see that blueprint is a well-used playbook all around the world.
And that's one that we're talking about, one faction. One faction, because you can't ignore the Islamification of everything either.
Well, you use the
another side of it.
Islamification is a very popular way of radicalizing the youth.
Yeah.
which is a part of the blueprint. Is you radicalize the youth. This is where the schools came in, and even religious institutions. No, not just Catholic. All religious institutions were weaponized, and so that's what you're seeing. That's where the Islamification comes in.
So in my research for Black Panther, Black Liberation, Weatherman Underground, all of their operatives at the same time were also talking about the Palestinian struggle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes back to, like 1964.
Yep.
That verbatim speech.
It's because it creates, what they do is they create an ecosystem.
Yes.
Right. And that ecosystem is designed to be an all-encompassing means of activism, right? That if you look at it from the information narrative networks all the way through the organizational networks and academic and institutional piece to that is what keeps those all together, and that becomes your political mobilization and activism. So it becomes this self-feeding.
Wait, what?
So you got information. We have a crisis. You build your information narrative, right?
Your 4 a.m. talking points.
And then you organizationalize those narratives, right?
What do you mean by that?
You bring in your solidarity organizations, you bring in NGOs, you look at
your think tanks and
your think tanks, all of that. That's organizationalizing. They're all going to be
on the same team.
They're all on the same page. Okay. They write their reports. Your research institutions then come next, because then you bring in your academic and intellectual, and they write these peer-reviewed, even though they're reviewing them themselves, these peer-reviewed reports that support what these organizational networks are putting together. Okay. And all of that becomes a mobilization process. This is how we get to domain one.
Okay. All right.
Yep. You see where I'm going?
Yep.
This is how we end up with taking it from a crisis into a normalized institutional response.
Okay.
So that's what this slide is trying to show you, is it's this continuous feedback loop from the crises, and it becomes this echo wave. It's hard to demonstrate that on this slide, but that's what those continuous circles are supposed. It's kind of like this echo wave that goes out layer to layer to layer.
What they're attempting to achieve.
Right.
What's omitted out of this is the influence from Trump and.
Yeah, but his influence, basically, when you throw a pebble in a pond and you create that wave,
ripple,
right?
Yep.
Throw a second pebble in. What happens? You get this disruption in the water. It's no longer neat circles, and you get Trump is that second pebble.
Yeah. Okay.
He's creating disruptions in the narrative. Mm-hmm. And what's neat to watch as he does that is how they respond to the disruptions to their narrative.
It's kind of like him 2028, and then he was right. He say it 2030, right. 2032, I think he's saying too. Didn't even think about running for a fourth term.
And what he's really saying is not untrue.
He's disrupting this, though.
He's disrupting their narrative. He's getting them red meat to chew on. But what he's saying is even scarier for them. He's saying that what I am doing is going to change the landscape of governance for generations. Mm-hmm. So it will be a MAGA hat in 28 and 32.
I would argue forever, because...
Forever. Well, we'll have to see how well our educational systems adapt these
AI.
lessons. Right. But that's what he's saying, is he's telling them, not only are you fooked, you're fooked forever.
You imagine if he was introduced earlier, or even later for that matter, he probably wouldn't have been able to be later.
If he'd have been introduced later, it'd be too late. If he was introduced earlier, we didn't have the gift of social media. Remember, AI. Social media is largely, but that came in later too.
What,
but
AI? Social
media, public domain of AI, yes. But social media is the advent of the new information age.
Yep.
AI gives it that power, if you will.
Yep.
And between the two, now is the perfect time. I find it interesting when you see this convergence. Remember, we had kind of examples of social media But it wasn't until the cell phone, the smartphone in 2008 that we really get in.
Bingo.
Right?
Yep.
So you've got the 2008-2009 nexus that is a complete counter to the crises that was being leveraged from 9/11.
Right.
And then what do you get? The financial crises. So we immediately go from 9/11 into a situation that literally attacked the very basis of your existence, your food and shelter. So that's why I brought these up, because I think what you're looking at is something so much more important than just these corporate responses, right? These are what the government has been doing. It's an all of government, and it's great. We're building transparency into everything, but it's so much, it brings a yawn, right? It brings you to a point of, so what? We've heard transparency, blah, blah, blah. What if you can translate that into something real? And that's where this came in. And that's where Zapatero came in for me. And I know a lot of people didn't even know who this guy was. But when you're reading the Cuba report and you see Iglesia, then you start to go, damn, there's a connection. These people don't have to be literally connected to each other, by the way, to recognize that there is a convergence happening right now in these influence networks where you're getting these rates. And this was a tactical strike, right? Because Homeland Security investigations actually linked the Venezuela airline executive to Zapatero, which is Spanish, and they already knew that he was an influence peddler for Cuba. So they gave that information to Spain. Spain puts him under investigation. And at the same time, we're looking into the influence networks in Cuba. This is not happenstance. These are patterns that should be respected. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Did you know Spain was the first country to... Okay, this is painful. I'm still speechless after what I learned yesterday, and I can't believe I didn't know about it sooner. But back in 2024, did you know who was elected to some public office in Spain? Somebody with Down syndrome.
Oh, my God.
I'm not kidding you.
I did not know that.
I did not know that.
In 2024, her name's Maria del Mar Galceran Gadea. She's a Spanish politician who has been a member of the Cortes Valencianas, the legislature of the Valencian community, since September 14th, 2023. She has she has full blown Downs. Yeah, she has full blown. Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
I've never known a Down syndrome person that could have held office.
I mean, they're the brightest human beings in the world. They're the most peaceful,
they're
civilized, beautiful people. But
politicians,
come on,
I've never met one that could have been.
Breaking barriers is what they're doing.
Well, it is true that Spain has become a socialist communist government.
Oh, yes.
Big time.
And it's interesting because they have a monarchy there that has been completely sidelined from the governance of the country.
Yep.
Just like
like England.
Just like in the UK.
Interesting, isn't it?
France, technically.
Yeah.
Do you see the new mayor of London? The Lord Mayor. Did you see who that is?
I didn't catch his name.
Hijab and everything.
But he's got the crown and the robe and the scepter, and he's standing there wearing. I just thought, do we need any more? Do you need any more proof?
He's full blown Muslim. Everybody.
Yeah, full blown. So one of the things about, let me go backwards. When you're talking about a sovereign capture rig, if you will, you're talking about taking anonymous capital and turning it into a political capital that becomes power. Okay. So you get a permanent bureaucracy out of what they've done. And so one of the things I've been looking at is the mesh that is designed to unlock all of that. And I'm just going to start going through these slides quickly. I've already attached them to my chat room for those that haven't seen them. But the big reveal here for this is that rig, if you're looking at the capture rig, is actually being taken down in real time. So you've got the Singham network is currently under investigation. You also got the Weiss network is currently under investigation. And like I said, one of the things I've noticed is that where Congress is acting on something, kind of like the whole O'Keefe thing, when Congress is acting on something, typically there's a parallel investigation going on behind the scenes at DOJ, kind of like O'Keefe. Every time he comes out with something, we're about to find out some news that comes out of public officials.
Yeah.
Or Nick Shirley.
It's like they're the bullhorn to say, hey, watch over here. We got something coming.
Correct.
So I'm noticing that over and over and over again, which gives me hope, because as we go into the NGO and fiscal sponsorships, the whole crux of how we're moving capital, then what you're looking at is the same thing happening, only it's not just in Congress. We're actually seeing Bissent tackle it directly, and we're seeing DOJ putting together indictments over some of the things that are going on behind the scenes with the NGOs and the shell companies. So that's a big deal as far as I'm concerned, showing that we're actually moving through. And you've had, since Trump came back into office, going after the universities and their research papers. Have you noticed how many have been pulled back? Something like 150 of them have been pulled back since 2025.
No.
Those very same research papers that solidified the knowledge, if you will, that created the funding, a perpetual cycle of funding. Those papers are being pulled back in a big way. And just what was it last week? We just found out about the climate change ones being pulled back.
Yes. And the judges.
So we're watching something that we haven't seen in a while, but when you originally leveraged them as a means of creating political information leverage, so that for that funding mechanism, then you got to look at the NGOs, because when things like when USAID is taken down, they had this money going through the NGOs that was already being cycled. And so the next trick then is, what has Scott been doing since then? Well, he's not been sitting on his butt, that's for sure.
No.
So he's actually been going after the advocates for those organizations, right? He's been going after, he's one of the things he did that I found fascinating is he kicked out one of the big federal contractors, which I found fascinating that he did that out of Treasury. So keeping that mesh going and then going after that mesh is two different stories, but they're both saying the same thing, because what we're seeing now is a continuity being built into the system that is creating this ability to catch things in more real time. Used to be bad actors were caught maybe 10 years later. Now we're catching them a lot more quickly.
Catching them and indicting them.
Indicting them. I have no doubt that what Marco Rubio put out in that Cuba report is translating into indictments, and probably currently sealed indictments, but it's translating into indictments right now, especially when you go through and you see names like Karen Bass and Ilhan Omar.
Basura.
You're looking at something very different. So getting into the economic resource, this is where, okay, you got the crises, you create the narratives, you institutionalize those narratives, and use that to push for an economic and resource change. So what does that mean? It literally means going to Congress and getting money now, because we've now taken bullshit and we've made it political capital, and we can now go after and now tie it into having a continuous cycle of income. Right. But we're watching the DAF report out of Congress, and also the two
DAF.
This is looking into donor advised funds. So here's the thing. This is straight out of what Bissent has been going after Congress put out their research report. The actual DAF report was written in 2025, but it wasn't released until April. Talk about timing, right? So donor advised funds, what's neat about that? Neat. The reason why, and this is key to Neville Roy Singham, key to Hans-Borg Weiss, and a few other people, with a donor advised fund, the fund has to report the donation, but not who gave it to them. So the donor advised fund is reporting that they got these donations, and those donations go to.
And we're talking about 501c3s.
The donor advised fund isn't a charity.
Okay.
It's just a fund, and they donate to charities. 501c3, 501c4, 501c5.
Yeah.
But they're donating to charities. The charities some cases, got to mention who that donation is, and they're going to say it's going to be this specific fund.
Okay.
The fund itself does not have to mention who the owner of that money is.
Okay.
So you've built a double layer of secrecy. Do you see that?
Yep.
So Congress put together this big report on DAFs. They wrote it in 2025, released it in 2026, which just happens to coincide with the 2 GAO reports and the activities that Scott Bessent's been doing. So there you go. It's none of it's by accident, right?
Right.
So they're looking at cross-border. They're looking at how the nonprofits themselves are using the money and moving that money. They're looking at the donor advised funds. Like I said, that's the big deal because there was a huge wall of secrecy behind that. And there's been some really formidable changes to how that operates. And then it's really going after the mega capital that they've been using. So I'm looking at this going, wow, they've actually done something pretty important. Here, I added this slide actually this morning. Wanted to show something. It's not a cutout, by the way. Wait a minute. I screwed up. It's not a cutout because I added this morning. My husband to get a chance to play with it. But I'm looking at a convergence, okay? And it's a verifiable convergence. We know that the plus ultra situation in Zapatero happened, okay? We know that Neville Roy Singham is under investigation in the Southern District of New York.
Yep.
We know Congress is looking into Weiss. The State Department report proves this entire roadmap, right? The blueprint. There's another one that really hit me, is the French branch of the Rothschilds.
Right.
That raid.
Yes.
Right? And what are they looking into? His Epstein connections.
Right.
And what do we know about those? We're talking about, again, similar networks that these guys are using. Right?
Does that tie to the Freemason raid that happened in France also? There was a Freemason group.
Yeah, I couldn't tie them and I couldn't fit that on here because I do think the Freemason raid is important.
I feel like it is too, because that was an assassination club.
Right.
It was
that's what their whole job was, right?
Right.
Globally.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
So I don't think, and these are all in 2026, by the way, since March. So I'm looking at this going, this is a pattern, a definite pattern. And it's funny because this is I think it's David de Rothschild's group, but the rest of the Rothschild family can't stand this French group. They feel like they were.
Really?
Yeah, they cannot stand them. The woman, Ariana Rothschild, is who's communicating with Epstein in the Epstein files. She can't stand this guy. The family had decided how these families were going to be named. They did something different. The whole family is pissed at them, and they ended up raided in March because of their Epstein connection.
Interesting.
So there's something here.
Yeah.
Not sure what yet, but
we don't know what. But I can't take it out of this mix when I see what's going on.
Right.
So the donor advised funds piece, I already told you that you get the capital. They're an intermediary layer rather, that kind of quietly funnels monies into the 501c3s. And that's being actively gone after in Congress. You've got the cross-border resource flows. This is what Zapatero's been doing, what Iglesias is doing, what Weiss and Singham are doing. They're taking these large billionaire pots, if you will, and creating institutional, what they call mega donors, if you will, to make sure that money gets cross border. So the larger the group, the more international they become.
Okay.
So it's easier to mesh that money through the various branches of any particular group. Think of the Clinton Foundation, if you will. They're global, right?
Yep.
So then what you end up is a form of a hybrid funding mechanism when you do that. And then you can just move that around within your network. And that's how you get cross-border without ever having to get caught up in a report, right?
Right.
Because it's the key, the reports come out of the main office. So let me keep going.
Shout out to 412. Thanks for the raid, brother. Good to see you guys out there, and welcome. And there's Duppy.
So beneficial ownership in shell companies. This has been Scott Bessent's big deal. I mean, this is everything Scott Bessent. And it's interesting because I have no doubt that he and Marco Rubio are working together after reading that Cuba report. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
There's no way they're not working together. And they're literally going after the Holy Grail on how monies are moving through shadow entities.
Wow.
There's no way they're not doing that. So the structures, the layered, Mary brought up the National Lawyers Guild, how these legal structures are layered and create that ecosystem is just amazing to me. I'm completely impressed, by the way, with this administration. So if you make those pathways visible, you can actually get to accountability.
It's almost like they've had it planned all along.
It does sound like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of does. Yeah.
Why is this important? Because we're really at a precipice. When you pull what I showed you last week, what I'm showing you this week, read the Cuba report. I'm going to say it again. When you see it all play out, you'll see that we either get this fixed now or it's too late. Because the civilizational risks are huge when you're talking about not just the convergence of governments working cross purpose, but when you're talking about public trust, that creates a situation where you have the potential for a world war, not just a civil war, but a world war between the them and us. And then obviously the accountability systems, we're watching it, right?
Right.
Where our accountability systems aren't working, but yet behind the scenes, we're watching them take accountability to a whole new level and actually getting the job done, which is why the deep state keeps saying they're going after their political opponents. Yeah, anybody that doesn't agree with MAGA, they keep presenting it that way.
Right.
But it's funny to watch what they're saying. But it as you saw with the BBC lawsuit and with the Project Vault stuff that I showed last week, you end up in a national security issue, a major issue. By the way, BBC, like I expected, the judge ruled in favor of the Trump team. BBC is not going to be able to relitigate J6 because of executive privilege, which I suspected that would happen. But damn, I wanted them to relitigate J6. But I understand when you look into all of that, they didn't just get J6 communications. They got all communications, 45,000 pages of White House communications. So it's not just J6. So anyway, coming back into this, the national sovereignty piece, I think, is where we need to land. This is the part we actually got to step back.
This is Monroe Doctrine stuff.
Yes, because the security of the Americas process that's undergoing, it's interesting because what you're watching, remember Trump had Carney in Canada and Schonbein from Mexico with him at the FIFA Cup finals, remember?
Mm-hmm.
That's obviously a Northern Hemisphere coalition. What's the issue? In the Cuba report, what did we find out? We're using these cartels and these other groups to filter through the borders. Well, since we've been closing down our border and we've been going after a lot of these groups, Canada's seen an increase. So what you've got is an insight into how Mexico, the US, and Canada are working together to go after these groups, which is verifiable, by the way. So, but because the national security issue is major. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. And I think I end up with looking at domain 4 with the accountability systems. Before, the more opaque it was, the less accountable it could be. Now we're watching it turn around. We're watching where we're actually able to attribute responsibility to the right players. And we are now having full access to the remedies. I still believe it, that the federal government is working in a blockchain environment, which has given them the ability for absolute oversight. And that's leading us to a situation. I love this slide. This to me is pretty. I love my stack where you take the 4 domains and you're actually looking at how that's affecting civilization, and you're looking at how they're putting them into play.
Guys, take screenshots of this too. Don't be afraid to take a screenshot anytime you need.
Isn't that a pretty slide?
This stuff can come in handy if you're. What could somebody be watching if they're, say, watching mainstream media and they're
that's where
reporting on
this
something?
comes in.
Yeah.
This is where this comes in. Like I said, you got the crises as domain 0. You can look at how narratives are framed. Go back to COVID. Every time you opened up a browser, what did you get? You got a COVID number.
Yeah.
Every time you turned on your TV, you had a box down in the lower right corner showing you a COVID number. Remember?
Correct.
That's forming a narrative, right?
Yep.
That narrative influences the media. The media influences what comes next. Then you organizationalize that. And what did we get? All these reports saying it's zoonotic. There's no such thing as a lab leak. Remember, we had all of that happening in 2020. That became the CARES Act, if you recall, where $3 trillion was put forward. Remember that?
Yep.
And then that becomes a civilizational impact, because all of that money, we find out now, we're seeing proof where that money is literally leading to massive fraud arrests under the CARES Act, because it didn't go to the people that were supposed to get it.
Thank God.
We're talking $3 trillion bill that so far they've already recaptured over $1 trillion.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So we're watching the takedown of what they carefully constructed. That's why I love this slide, because it shows the nest, if you will, right?
Oh, for sure.
So systems do not threaten sovereignty by replacing it. They change conditions on which it must function. So if knowing that that's how this happens, then the next step is to actually take something complex and make it more transparent. Step 1. And then you issue accountability. You make sure there's accountability built in, whether it's through audits, frequent audits, or actually putting somebody behind bars. And then you become, your capacity for sovereign decision making becomes a lot more fluid. You're more capable, and that is what increases public trust. So it's important. This slide, to me, for me anyway, is probably one of the more important slides in the deck, because you can see how it's weaponized, and you can then see how it's being taken down.
So you mean every time I bring up the issue of, not issue, but the, solution of Trump, the Trump admin, doing all they can to restore trust and faith in government, you mean when I mention this, it's not just some small thing, it's actually...
No, it's a big deal.
It's actually a big deal, yeah.
It's a major deal, because if we don't have faith and trust in our government, nothing our government does is going to land well.
And MAGA is not going to...
But how do you get faith and trust?
Yeah,
it isn't because Trump is telling you...
Through transparency.
It's got to be through transparency, which is what we're getting.
And disclosure, declassifications.
But, it even takes it further, because now that he's being transparent, now that we're getting all these reports, what is the next step? It's obviously somebody goes behind bars. So I think
yes.
the follow-on, you're going to start to regain faith, but you're not going to fully trust the system until somebody's held accountable. We've been saying this for years. Everybody agrees with that.
Yeah.
So what did I find throughout my research? I found out that there are 5 domains. One of the biggest effects, though, right now is being felt in how governance is happening. So the crises changes the system. Information then confers legitimacy on that crisis. Institutions make change happen when you institutionalize that, the narratives that are created, and you then, I don't know why this is still there. That was a mistake. And confers legitimacy. It should be up here. But information comes, it confers legitimacy. You institutionalize it. You get all your think tanks out there, and then you create a congressional mapping to funding, and then you take that architecture and you give it operational oomph. Right? You can take it from the federal to the state level, and the biggest effect is in a corrupted system. There's less governance. What we're watching being put in place right now is actually more governance. And this is going to be a complicated slide. You'll have to see it in the regular. But what I wanted to show is what is currently underway. If you look at the executive orders, the DHS, safety, elections, these are things that are happening that is removing all of the carefully constructed mechanisms that they put in place. Okay. It's not going down there. He only did one. Okay. And that takes me to my final slide is the solutions. I like this slide because I like ending on a high note. I like saying, hey guys, we've been through shit. And I am seeing signs of we're coming out of it. That it's actually, there is a brighter day ahead. And I'm reading it in these formal reports, the things they're putting in place, the things they're doing to bring back constitutional government. We're getting transparency. The public, we have access to more information than we've ever had. Right. You've got research is being allowed out there. Where we used to get, I mean, how many times have I been suspended or whatever? I can put out almost anything now. I don't get those consequences. Right. And then, in fact, we've got more of a voice as researchers than the media does with their counter narrative.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're also looking at the financial pathways. We're actually able to follow them. You couldn't before. You can now. And so that all of that gives us better, stronger constitutional oversight. This is happening right in front of us, which I think is a nice place to land.
Make financial pathways easier. Like, for instance?
Well, when you know the pathways of DAFs and you change it to beneficial ownership and 990 changes, financial pathways are made easier to see.
Oh, to see. Okay.
Yeah, you can actually audit what you can see.
Yeah, right. Public domain. So the public, you want to talk about transparency.
990s are public. They're not, they're put up, they're public.
So imagine for a moment, where you don't have to rely, you don't have to rely on the government for transparency. A day where, if you want transparency, you guess what? There will be no excuse of not obtaining the knowledge because it'll be all open sourced. So if you don't know something, that falls on you. That puts the ball in your court to do something about it.
I got to ask the question. Did this land as well as last week? Because last week everybody was excited. Did this land as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Some of it I need to go back and hear again, just so I can sink in a little bit more. But I think you get your thumb on the scale for sure.
I hope so.
Two things real quick. Shout out to, and I apologize, I'm going to say it wrong, Sophilin.
Yeah.
Thank you for the shades.
Oh, did I miss that? Yes. Sulfanol, yes.
And then I was going to say, do you care if I drop the link to the show that I did yesterday?
You don't need my permission.
That way,
yes, please.
Are you kidding me? I appreciate you.
Everybody,
asking,
I really encourage you to watch Mary's show from last night. Support her for her work, because that was a really good show explaining the Cuba report.
That's why I thought it would be relevant, because I don't drop links in other people's shows. Like I
know how you feel.
Mayor.
But this is our show now. It's called Feisty Diggs, but it's really our show.
Yes.
And Vining Rod 555, thank you so much for that $5 Rumble rant.
Yep.
Very nice of you.
Greatly appreciated.
Yep.
My cat will get off the mouse. I can finish.
So, for what it's worth, Sean, many people talk about how they have to listen to the show 3 and 4 times.
Well, that's arguably what. Well,
because as somebody said to me yesterday, this is master's level programming.
So, all right, I'll take that one on the chin then. Then me and Mayor should take that one on the chin. Why? Because that's our job, to simplify it, to break it down.
It's not that it's not. I don't think it's that it's hard to understand. I think what it is it's different. It's different from what you're used to watching. It's different from what you're used to following. It's showing you a systematic look of what's going on, so that I can then show you how it's being unraveled. It's not just couched in some people did some bad things. It's showing you the entire architecture of the system.
How it's all devised, how it's all orchestrated.
It's not in conventional language. You're not hearing somebody on the news talking about, well, the organizational system structure is such. I mean, it's just so.
I would wonder how they produce it, how they create it, engineer it. I wonder what the process is that when they go into designing this whole strategy.
I don't think it's a matter of a master design.
You don't think so?
I think it begins. Go back.
Well, what if it is? They call think tanks.
No. Yes, I understand, but go back to Crossfire Hurricane. Yeah. That whole thing started with political gossip, right? How did that thing blow up? Because that political gossip got the legitimacy of the Five Eyes. That to make an investigation. Then it became about covering up the illegitimacy of the investigation that became a means of using all of that illegitimate investigation stuff in the Mueller report, trying to back into a crime that didn't produce what it wanted. So it became Round River, which then went back and looked at all of that again. You can see how it just kept spiraling out of control.
Was the political gossip intended for that outcome?
It was No, I don't know that the political gossip was intended for that outcome. Okay. Political gossip was intended to get Hillary Clinton across the line.
Gotcha.
But what's interesting,
they never thought she'd lose.
When that political gossip got to help her, he got $1 million out of O&A, Office of Net Assessments, out of the Pentagon. So there was a vested interest in keeping Trump out of office.
Just like Jack said, I think they start with an idea and make that shit up as they go, is what Jack says.
Whether they make shit up, I think what they do is they wrap themselves tighter and tighter as the days go by. And I think what made it really difficult for them is all along the way there were people in Congress and in law enforcement that were following through. Remember, Adam Lovinger told us about Office of Net Assessments. He was immediately rewarded with losing his job and his clearance.
I remember hearing about that, yeah.
So, we're looking at these two factions. There's this war going on inside the executive branch.
And we're winning.
Yes, we now have proof. And I started this with showing Trump saying we wish for them to have luck. And I went back to his the washing machine speech. And I showed you, I think he knew this is where he was going. I'm pretty sure they were going to let them take the election so they could document the criminality.
Matter of fact, that was a drop. That was a drop where I think, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't remember if it was, there were two kinds of, there were two Q operations. What was the first one called again?
Oh, the FBI and on.
No, it was somebody in the chat will think, I can't even think of it right now. And then the last one was the Great Awakening, right?
Yeah, you're talking.
They were separated.
I was in that group.
In two different.
They moved to another.
Two different phases, yeah. But
It began with a C, but I can't
remember it was in the drops that
4chan.
Trump had made the decision to take a different and it was insinuated that it was going to be a longer approach.
Uh-huh.
But I think that decision was based
there's
on
there's
the
a
level
Q
of people
post
waking
talking
up.
about 2 years, 4 years, 6 years.
Yes.
We thought that meant by 2020 because
Something like the decision was made or something like that, and
right.
And I think that washing machine speech was the indicator.
Yes, and then when you see what he says on the handover from transition from his administration to the Biden administration, his emphasis on a very important word.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was legal. I've been talking about this for years.
Oh, luck.
Because luck, in a legal sense, if you're lucky enough to complete a crime, the penalties are heavier.
Oh boy.
So I've always seen that as such.
So when you're wishing them luck, you're wishing
you're wishing, please complete the crime.
Please complete the crime. Okay.
Right.
Wow. That's great.
So when you take all of them together and recognize that he said in the Washington machine speech, I'm the only president that can get this done. Why was he the only president that could get this done? Because he was the only one that neither was political or had a public rap sheet, right?
Yeah, he wasn't controlled.
They tried to create one on him.
Oh, yeah.
But they couldn't own him.
Boy, didn't they?
Wow. Another banger. Both you two ladies. That was great. Thank you, Feisty.
Mary, I can't thank you enough for adding between the two of us on this one.
We do most of the work in the background.
Yeah. Mayor, outside of Truth Blitz, or AKA Giggle Blitz, guys, make sure you check out Truth Blitz, 1 p.m. Eastern, every day except for Wednesdays. So you can check out Mayor Bear and Krista, or otherwise known as Braves Piano, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. That would be 11 a.m. Pacific time, right on America Rising Media. Other than that, I know you'll see Feisty and I this Thursday for America Rising News. We'll break down the
Lifting
news.
the veil.
Yeah, Lifting the Veil. And then outside of that, Mayor, do you have any other shows that you wanted to plug?
Sure. I'm doing a collab series with S. Jones 39. We do Diggs Tuesday nights at 7:30. We're progressing through Laurel Canyon and we're progressing through that, and we're doing a combined one of that and Chaos, which is the Manson murders, because they overlap completely. So we'll be doing that. Continuing
and the senators that he well, I don't know.
There's a lot in that dig.
This is
and
some
then,
grimy stuff in that.
So the other thing, we started doing predictive programming movie night, Friday night at 7:30. Kathy filled in for me the other night. They enjoyed watching one. What was it? Kill the Messenger. I know you.
Kill the Messenger. It's the guy who uncovered Iran-Contra.
So
I think I played that one.
We've been working our way through all the Tom Clancy's. So we've done Hunt for Red October. We just did some of All Fears. We've done Patriot Games. We're doing Clear and Present Danger this week.
Nice.
So those have been really nice. And then Squares, the game show, Saturday nights, every Saturday night at 9.
Yeah, and how she has time to spend all this with me, I don't know.
I love you.
She's a superhero. 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Oh yeah, 1 p.m. Truth Blitz. That 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. East Pacific Time. Correction. Thank you, Chris. Speaking of Chris, we had a couple other. Let's see here. Speaking of Chris, phone from Chris says, "Sorry, I'm late. How dare you?" Was interviewing with a new job. Well.
Oh, I wish you luck.
Yeah, wish you luck.
A very important word. Right?
All right, yeah. I won't congratulate you yet, but congratulations will be in order if you do indeed land that job. So good luck, friend. Casey.
We're excited for you.
Yes, we are. Casey, thank you for the banger shades. Casey, good to see you out there. Sulfanol with those shades has got it. Thank you. Yeah, we'll give you know what we should do? Feisty.
Uh-oh. That look.
The hand rub. The
And
hand
he goes like this. You got to run, everybody, run.
Yes. Everybody, not you. I think we should give homework assignments.
Everybody has to read the Cuba report.
There you
Would
go.
you agree, Mary?
I agree.
You have to read it.
So I have it pinned in both chats. Guys.
Sean.
That includes you.
Yes. I was reading it during the show, by the way.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
It's really good. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be live with the news tonight at 9:30. And we're going to go raid Johnny, who's live right now. He's got a killer interview
Yes.
with oh my gosh, what the heck's his name?
It's was it the Crease?
Yeah, Joey the Crease or something like that.
Something like that. It's a mafia guy. He's landed an interview with a mafia guy.
What are you, a wise guy?
Yeah.
The capo. He's doing an interview with a guy. Yeah. Gosh, I can't remember the guy that he was connected to in prison, but it's very fascinating conversation he's going to be having. So we'll go raid that, Johnny, and like I said, I'll be live tonight at 9:30. So.
Mary,
Awesome.
redrop your show from last night, please.
Oh, okay.
And then
Before Sean close it down.
And then thank you everybody for joining. I'm gonna hang out with my boy, my son, for a little while before he heads home.
Well,
So,
I
thank you,
appreciate
ladies.
everybody following through with another show.
Yes.
I hope I clarified some things instead of making it opaque.
Well, if anybody has any questions, go on over to Feisty's Telegram channel, and then if you can reserve some of those, because there might be some of those questions that we may need to address next Monday. If you want to do like a summary or something.
That's fine.
Yeah. And then we're gonna. I assume we're gonna have plenty of election stuff to get into, maybe by next Monday.
Yeah, I've actually got another report to go through, and I want to go through.
You?
Yeah, I got 2 more reports to go through. I also want to go through Rand Paul stuff.
Yeah, Wednesday could be interesting.
Wednesday, yeah.
I think Wednesday's going to be not so much that Rand Paul's going to have a whip out, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Fauci says. We'll know if it's a shit show by the questions Rand Paul doesn't ask, because he's done that before. But I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Wednesday's going to be big.
What's that, Mary?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just saw Unchained. I didn't mean to cut you off, Kathy. Thank you for the can, Unchained 01.
Oh yeah, Feisty, Mary, McCord.
I said Molly. I meant Mary. I'm sorry, Unchained. Forgive me.
Yes.
But I had McCord right.
Yes.
I know her history. I know her story. She's also one of the signers on the Carter Page FISA. She's one of the 51 intelligence officials that called the Hunter Biden laptop Russian disinformation. She's one of the people that agreed that Trump was a threat to democracy. I mean, you go down the list on her.
She ticks all the boxes.
Who was that mask lady for the CIA? Do you remember her name? It was oh my gosh.
Gina?
That worked under Bush Senior.
Yes.
Blonde.
Yes. Short hair.
Yeah.
Is it Julia something? No.
I've got her in my face and I can't think of her name.
She was one of the ladies who she was one of the 51 signatures on there too. Yeah.
As soon as you see a document written by former, you know they're personally concerned about continuing their problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she wasn't. I don't think she was necessarily as benevolent as many think she is. You know, revealing that CIA has
so when you're
a mask
in
program,
a phony impeachment setting,
yeah,
and you got these people coming out saying Trump is a threat to democracy, obviously what you're talking about are people who have something to hide.
Something to hide. Right. Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you both soon.
Have a very good night.
Awesome. Good night. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Like I said, we're going to go raid Johnny. He's live right now, and I'll see you guys tonight at 9:30. I may move it back to 10. I don't know yet, but stay tuned for more. And thank you all for the support. Thank you for hitting the red pill over in Pilton. Thank you for hitting that like over on Rumble. God bless you guys. Stay safe. Stay dangerous. I'll see you guys soon.
Whispers in the static, questions in the fire. The veil is torn and the seeker never tired. Scrolls of the ancients carved into stone. She reads between lines while the empire grows. The priesthood of medicine, prophets of law. She claws through the curtain, exposing the flaw. No map, no guide, just shadow she tracks. Every thread pulled is a world turned back. The faithful will know, though the words may be few. To the blind, every truth is a riddle untrue. Claws of reason, eyes of flame, unmasking the player in the shadow game, where the silence breaks, the hidden shade. She names the unspoken, the world away. Historians' eye on the ruins of men, cycles repeating again and again. Digital soldier, a phantom, a spark, a voice through the wires ignites the dark. Voice of iron, breath of dust, piercing the empire built on rust. Keeper of the flame, she stakes her claim, illuminates the nameless, calls them by name. Through Babylon's towers, through Rome's broken gates, she carries the question that history hates. No creed, no tyrant, no mask will remain. When the feisty one whispers your true name. Claws of reason, eyes of flame, unmasking the players, and the shadows